machines drive out of these meteors. Get away from that! Get out of there!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2025 found footage style science fiction film War of the Worlds. The film is directed by Rich Lee and it stars Ice Cube, Ava Longoria, Iman Benson, Henry Hunter Hall, Devon Bostick and Andrea Savage. Right, this is a retelling of the classic H.G. Wells story, War of the Worlds. And this time we meet Ice Cube's character, William Redford. He works for the government, the NSA, something like that. He basically sits in a room and spies on everybody through a computer screen, using drones, cameras, you name it. And then he reports back to government agencies about giving them information that they may need. He's got two kids, they're both grown up. One's a computer genius and the other one's a healthcare. I can't remember. She might be a nurse, something like that. But he doesn't really get on with his kids, not particularly well, and it's not hard to see why. Because he basically spies on them all the time, using his tools at his disposal. However, there is like some unnatural storms taking place, some thousands upon thousands of huge meteorites start crashing down to Earth, and out of these meteorites rise the huge spaceships that we come to recognize from this story that start terrorizing and destroying the planet. However, they are more interested in our data. So they are making a beeline for those buildings that can give them all that lovely data that they can handle. So we've got to figure out a way to stop them before it's too late. Right, what are my thoughts on War of the Worlds? I really like the War of the Worlds idea and films for the most part. The original's obviously a classic. I enjoy the Spielberg version, but I think it could have been far better. And there's been a number of lower budgeted versions of this that's come out over the years, and essentially that's because it's in the public domain, so anybody can kind of make a War of the Worlds film if they like. I don't know if anyone's ever really truly done justice to the original story, apart from maybe the radio play that Orson Welles read in, was it the 50s, where he basically scared everybody half to death because they thought an alien invasion were happening. So, I mean, as you know, I like found footage. This isn't strictly speaking found footage. It's one of those, like, you know, films that's told basically through a computer screen. You know, it's like Unfriended type of film, you know, that kind of stuff. Or Missing, that type of film. So it's all told through that, really. So I thought the premise here could work. You know, I love War of the Worlds and I love found footage type style films. So there was a lot of potential here for this. And then unfortunately I watched the film. What a load of old pony this film is. I mean, my God, they dramatically dropped the ball here with this. What were they thinking? I don't know. Honestly, it's a complete facepalm, this film. I'm so disappointed with it. There's so much really wrong with the film. It's one of those where you kind of struggle to know where to start. But I will start with Ice Cube. Number one, his character is about as charming, you know, as a cold, chilly winter morning. He is not a fun character. He is not the right character to choose for this role, actor to choose for this role. Ice Cube will never be accused of being a dramatic actor, and this role requires him to basically look at screens and act shocked and surprised and upset, angry, all those emotions. And all you generally get from him is shouting at his kids, "I got you," and "hell no." That's generally what you get from him, and it's hard to watch. It's cringeworthy. It was such a poor casting choice putting Ice Cube in there. Ice Cube in the right role is perfect. It's absolutely fine. Ice Cube in this role, I just don't understand it. It's like casting Stephen Hawkins as Captain America. It's just not going to work. A terrible, terrible casting choice, and he unfortunately is carrying this film, so that makes it a lot more difficult. And then you've got all these other characters kind of turning up fleetingly that amazingly are all in the right places when they need to be. You know, when the meteorite lands, you know, within seconds it would seem that Eva Longoria's character, I believe, this NASA expert, is there at the crash site, you know. And you're just like, oh, give us a break. His kids, one of his kids is a computer genius. Oh, I wonder if that's going to come back later to, you know, have a big impact on the film. And essentially, there's this big computer hacker that the whole world is at the number one list for like cyber attacker. The whole world wants him. He's the number one suspect. Ice Cube at the beginning of the film is looking for him and thinking he's sending the police to get him, and everybody he's got to be captured because he's really dangerous. That's how dangerous he is. And then who it turns out to be, which is no surprise. I'm not going to say who it is, but if you've got even 3 brain cells rattling around in your head, you've already figured it out. And you're just thinking, woo, that was a coincidence, wasn't it? And the way they take down the aliens is about as interesting as watching paint dry. And unfortunately, you just don't get the grasp of how destructive this invasion is. You see clips of like the spacecraft, you know, shooting the odd helicopter down, or you know, the odd plane down, with some poor CGI. But beyond that, you just kind of see them shooting at people, and then the camera feed cuts out, and so you don't really see it. And that was one of my main complaints about Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. It was told from the perspective of Tom Cruise and his family, so it was a more smaller scale. Well, I wanted all them big battles that the military were having with those ships. I wanted to see them. I wanted to see how it affected the planet globally, a War of the Worlds attack. And that's what we didn't get in Steven Spielberg's. It was a much more intimate story, which is fine, but it's not exactly what I wanted. And this, again, has done the same thing, but it's just done it in a technological way. It's just not what I wanted or what I thought I was going to potentially get from this. It's probably the worst War of the Worlds adaptation I personally have seen. It's difficult to watch. You know, the effects aren't really very good. The acting, I think, is really poor. It's basically some recognizable actors on a Zoom call, pardon the pun, phoning it in. You just don't get the dramatic effect of, you know, thousands of alien craft roaming around the planet, you know, kicking off. You never get that feeling. And basically, they figure out how to take them down because the film is pretty much told in real time. They pretty much figure out how to take these aliens down in whatever the runtime of this film is, 90 minutes, in 90 minutes. So I would suggest that these aliens are not that smart either. I mean, that's always been the criticism of War of the Worlds, these aliens, you know, that they die from a cold or from basically bacteria on our planet that we've spent millions of years of evolution getting used to, that they couldn't fight it off. That's a far better way of telling the story than what we get here. You know, some computer virus essentially that him and some hackers cook up within the 90 minutes of them invading. So yeah, I was desperately disappointed because I'm such a fan of this kind of property, War of the Worlds. I really hoped for more. I was excited that there was a new War of the Worlds out, but unfortunately what they gave us was, well, it's not even bargain bin really. It's just a really, really terrible version of it, and definitely one to avoid. I mean, it's free on Amazon if you want to go and watch it just to see how bad it is, but beyond that, I certainly wouldn't pay to watch it, guys, if I were you. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. I certainly hope you found it useful, and I will, of course, be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.